again. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. And today we're going to talk about a review of some wonderful cards, and we're going to go for tribal. In fact, we're going to start with big angels, and no other cards you could start with is with this one, Avacyn, Angel of Hope. It's one of the best angel cards, if not the best, when it comes to commander or some certain limited play in modern. And what's with this card? And just like the succeeding featured cards that we're going to have in this channel, we're going to do the SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats that we could actually use to evaluate the value of this card, or any cards in particular. Maybe it be a creature, enchantment, or instance, or sorcery. And we're going to also discuss the possible cards that we could actually match with this one and any particular cards, so it will be a little bit more helpful in us in our game. And we'll start with who's Avacyn. So this is Avacyn, Angel of Hope, 8/8 flyer with flying and vigilance. And Avacyn, Angel of Hope, and other permanents you control are indestructible. And the flavor text says it all: a golden helix streaked skyward from the hellbolt, and a thunderous explosion shattered the silver moon, and Avacyn emerged, free from her prison at last. Avacyn is actually created or made by this guy, Sorin Marco, one of the great planeswalkers roaming around. Unfortunately, Avacyn went wrong, like in this version of the card, Archangel Avacyn. Once you flip it, it becomes the Avacyn the Purifier. So it's kind of a mini 4 drop for 3, and also deals damage, 3 damage to all ones. Now, as Sorin, set as the creator, he also made, unfortunately, Avacyn. And this was actually pretty much depicted on a card called Anguish and Myth. And the flavor text also says it all. Sorin had created Avacyn, so it was a cruelty beyond imagining, a pain beyond description, that fell upon him to end her forever. And if you would notice, that's Avacyn the transformed one, as she slowly disintegrated, as Sorin pointed his sword, totally unmaking the angel. Now you have a certain background of who Avacyn is. It's time to evaluate the card. Now, maybe to some who are familiar with evaluating business entities, SWOT analysis is one good way of evaluating such parameters. But also, we could going to discuss today, SWOT analysis is also a good way of evaluating how powerful and valuable the card is. Let's continue with the strength. As you can see, the stats or statistics for this card, Avacyn Angel of Hope, is really good. It has flying, it has vigilance, so you don't have to tap it when you attack. And one plus factor is that it makes all of your permanents, including lands, enchantments, artifacts, including creatures, and Avacyn Angel of Hope herself, indestructible. Gives you a good way of viewing this as it's a one-time finisher, you attack, or kind of in a way that unless otherwise Avacyn will be removed from the board, everything of your chump blockers will be instantly indestructible chump blockers. The weakness of Avacyn Angel of Hope is that one obvious thing that you could see, it has a high converted mana cost, or CMC. So it's going to take around 1,000,000 years to cast Avacyn Angel of Hope. Another thing that we could take note of is that Avacyn doesn't have hexproof, trample, or menace. Now, it means that the first one, hexproof, Avacyn Angel of Hope, although she has flying, vigilance, and indestructible, she could still be targeted by spells or abilities that your opponent could master. For instance, she could be bounced out, she could be exiled, she could be kidnapped or hijacked, taken control by your opponents and then fling you in the face by 8. So those things you need to take note of the weakness of Avacyn. And another thing that she doesn't have trample. So what tramples means is that when you attack and your opponent has some teeny weeny blockers, 1/1 flyers, for instance, you can just jump knock Avacyn and then survive another turn. Now, if she does have trample, even if your opponents could jump up, provided that it's not that high enough to absorb all the damages, Avacyn could trample some damage through those jump blockers. And one good thing that Avacyn should have, but in our case she doesn't have, is Menace. If she does have Menace, your opponent will have a hard time blocking Avacyn, Angel of Hope. She or he should have at least 2 blockers. That's what Menace is for. But then again, these are the weaknesses of Avacyn, Angel of Hope. Now let's go on to the next section. What are the opportunities that we could take advantage of? Well, given the fact that it turns all your permanents indestructible, Avacyn, Angel of Hope is really a good combo with board wipes. You cast Avacyn, untap with her, and the next turn you launch your board wipe. And in that case, it's just a single board wipe, like a Wrath of God. All your permanents will actually survive. Your opponents will just rat out. And it could also a way of protecting your permanents, even if your opponent could now have a hard time casting their board wipe, because their permanents will be wiped out, not yours. And to address one of the weaknesses of Avacyn, which has a high casting cost or converted mana cost, well, you could use mana rocks to actually launch Avacyn on the board early. And good thing about mana rocks and other artifacts that I'm going to mention in this slide is that they're color neutral, so if you're going to go true and true for the mono white variants, so that will be no problem at all. But if you're going to combine Avacyn, Angel of Hope with green, you could use mana darts, green mana darts, to even cast Avacyn, Angel of Hope 1 turn, 2 turn earlier than the usual, combined with mana rocks. So you could actually cast Avacyn, Angel of Hope much earlier than the usual. In fact, 5 turns earlier if you have the right mana to cast Avacyn. And one of the best artifacts that you could actually use to launch Avacyn, Angel of Hope in the battlefield early by turn 5, at least turn 5, is Quicksilver Amulet. Turn 4, you cast Quicksilver Amulet. On turn 5, tap it for 4, and you could put any creatures on your hand to the battlefield. Then could you wait another turn if you want to, and you could actually cast Avacyn Angel. Well, actually, put Avacyn, Angel of Hope in the battlefield on your opponent's end step. She could be a good blocker and could be a good anti-board wipe if your opponents will decide to board wipe you. So when you cast Avacyn, cast this board wipe, go for the stop, use your Quicksilver Amulet, and then put Avacyn, Angel of Hope from your hand to the battlefield, thus giving all your permanents indestructibility. And more on the artifacts, that you could actually use artifacts to add on abilities to Avacyn, Angel of Hope. For example, you could use Swift Boots. You could actually attack Avacyn and give her Hexproof. Or if it's a Lightning Greaves, she will have Shroud. And you could use other artifacts in effect to give and enhance Avacyn's capability. Now let's move on to the threats. Things that you need to look at for. Well, as I have mentioned, Avacyn doesn't have Hexproof. So Avacyn should be a little bit carefully treading the ground or the air within this, since we are going against control deck. She might get hijacked or bounced. Avacyn, since she has a high casting cost, given that you don't have any mana rocks or pixel amulet to put her in the battlefield earlier, then I guess playing against aggro decks, those burn decks, could be a bit tricky to play around with those kind of decks, because it's going to take a longer time to launch Avacyn Angel of Hope. But then again, using the SWOT analysis, you can now analyze and familiarize yourself on the probable possible strategies that you could use to play Avacyn Angel of Hope. Maybe a commander, or part of the 99, or part of your regular deck as a white finisher. Now, that's about the SWOT analysis for Avacyn Angel of Hope. Now, we're going to move on to the next section. Avacyn is really good in a single board wipe effect. If you're going to cast it and then untap with it, and then use your board wipe. Now, there are a lot of cards that you could attach into Avacyn, but in terms of a permanent combo cards, here are my two suggestions. I guess most of you would agree. So let's say you cast Oblivion Stone, and then you cast Avacyn, and then on the next turn you tap Oblivion Stone, destroying everything, actually destroying your opponent's permanents, non-land permanents. And on the next turn, you cast Sun Titan, and a Sun Titan state. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attack, you may return target permanent's card to convert cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Hence, you have an infinite board wipe, a single board wipe effect. Tap Oblivion Stone, destroy everything as you sacrifice Oblivion Stone, attack with Avacyn, and particularly attack with Sun Titan, get back Oblivion Stone, and then cast it again. Okay, so that's Avacyn. And now you know what's the story behind the card. And as a recap, we have discussed some of the basic background of who Avacyn is and what does it do, how powerful the card is using the evaluation method that we use, the SWOT analysis, and what are the possible combination cards or combo cards you can use with Avacyn to give the most potential of our card. And I hope you learned a lot of stuff on our discussion today, and thank you very much, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye.